Hello everyone, it's Omae and welcome back to the brand new video. We're back late for a treasure map video against Collun using Ace and Oars, none of the new rare recruits. So we have some very key support in terms of Usopp as well as Perisperi. You do not need Sengoku. Perisperi you can obtain from the treasure map shop itself. And then on this one, we're just running Perispero again. And then you can fill out the empty spaces with stat boosting support abilities, right? You do not need Collun Super Evolved. You do not need Garp Super Evolved either. And you do not need level limit break upgrades on your Albaf Luffy. In terms of the unsuper evolved form for Albaf Luffy, it should work. You will get less points as he's a lower point booster, but at the end of the day, he still will serve the same function. That Albaf Luffy will actually give you a color affinity, which is much better than the orb boost that he provides in his super evolved form, right? And also he still has the HP cutter, right? Either way, Intrusion is way harder than the final boss. The final boss is pretty much a joke. When I saw that we get empty slots on stage 2, the very first thing that came to my mind was 20th anniversary Usopp. Like, whenever you see unfavorable slots or empty slots, Usopp. 20th anniversary Usopp. That unit came out in the first year of the game, I'm pretty sure, the first 2 years of the game, to celebrate One Piece franchise's 20th anniversary. And he still has one of the best support abilities in the game. Amazing unit. But Perispero, there's a lot of annoying things here. Main thing on the Intrusion is the blowaway on stage 2 partnered with the block slots. There are so few ways to get around block slots in this treasure map from the boosted list. It's a joke. If you don't have Stenson and Goldberg, who both resist blowaway themselves, as well as change the block slots into rainbow, I really do pity you, man, because you can use VV6 plus to change block into matching, but the problem there is that she will be blown away. Now, Carrot and Wanda is extremely helpful unit here. Their swap gives a universal attack boost, the special gives an orb boost, and most importantly, they get around the 3 turns of special rewind on stage 2. Now, you may be thinking, what's the point? There's redundancy here. The super classes of Ace and Oars gets around the rewind. Unfortunately, it's not that simple. They only give cooldown 3 turns to middle row fighter characters, which we have basically in none of our relevant units, only Luffy, and we're using him on the final stage, not on stage 2 here. And then the bottom row Dex and quick units, so Stenson and Goldberg and Gerd, they all need to be on the bottom left and middle left slots since they get blown away. They do have the sailor abilities to resist blowaway, so make sure that they are limit broken. I'm pretty sure that sailor ability to resist blowaway is there before limit break, but either way, just to be safe, it's very important. So Carrot and Wanda, swap them for an attack boost. Special is an orb boost. They activate very quick for both their swap and special, so that's quite nice. We can then use our Goldberg and Gerd to activate rainbow slots, a color affinity which goes very well with our other buffs, and then of course the striker units get their slots locked. So just for future, the entire time we're in Albaf where striker units are the meta, you're gonna want that Perispero support. Amazing units, right? So Oars is a 50% quick, 50% strength unit, so just tap on one of your Oars and Ace and then on one of your quick units. Very early on, of course, HP is going to be low. I'm on my 30th nav or something like that. I couldn't remember from the start of the video, right? But either way, only hit good strikes until you need the damage. Save your time and do not waste your time activating all of your perfects. It's a waste of time for you. Final stage, we get fear to our sailors, but luckily we do not need to use any of our sailor abilities here, so that's irrelevant. We can use Stanson to release us from bind, give us an attack boost, and then we can use our Ace and Oars. Number 1 to reduce 7 turns of damage reduction, number 2 to reduce the final turns of it, and then we also get a chain boundary from their special. We can then use their super class for a base attack boost and super class to our fighter units, I'm pretty sure. Or yeah, just fighters, not strikers, right? But regardless, you don't need to use that until very late on. There's no utility in their super class here. We're just using it for damage, so don't use it until you really need it. And now one very key detail here, we are going to hit through the 30k instant burn, and because of this, there's also a death hit. We need the damage reduction to survive that, so we cannot use Luffy's special. Do not use it. The main reason we have Luffy here is for his sailor ability on stage 2 to remove the threshold. He is basically the only non-boosted threshold reducer that's actually a decent point boost at 1.35x, right? So having his sailor ability, we meet the tag requirement quite easily. And that's going to get around the threshold, but his special will give us an 80% HP cut. You don't want to do that, right? You will die from the instant burn or the death hit. Either one will kill you. Don't do it. There's no point in doing it. Even the orb boost that he provides would not apply to our dex units, so there's really no reason for you to do that. Now, there are definitely ways we can improve this team. If I can find a way to use support abilities to get around the instant burn, I could use Luffy's special for an orb boost, but at the end of the day, we do have that orb boost and color affinity intimidation effect, reducing its turn duration by 2 turns, right? So any orb boost or color affinity has to be 3 turns or more, or you could use a special on stage 2 that gives a 3-turn color affinity or orb boost to carry it over to the final stage. Those are your 2 options. Either way, it will have to be a multiple turn buff. But for now, we are just attacking with attack boost, not even color affinity, a base attack boost, chain boundary, and then also the enemy has advantageous a weakened class striker, so our strike units will do an extra 2x damage, right? But definitely could be better. At least we have matching orbs, right? So we can just tap on ace Oars and then on one of your quick units. So damage wise, the intrusion is not only way harder in terms of point boost, we have to run those Goldberg and Gerd and Stanson units who are only 1.2x, but we also have to run very low damage here. So a final boss is much more promising, but if I do find a way to improve the damage, I will definitely make a new video. I do plan to make a much better team for Intrusion when it comes to none of the new batch, because honestly running double Oars and ace is not very good. Like, there's no real benefit from running 2 ace and Oars. There's no effect in a special that states if you have X buff gives a separate buff, in which case running double ace and Oars could be helpful. But yeah, it's basically pointless running 2 of them. But then we have the final boss. Now, when I was talking about the Intrusion with none of the new batch, running only 1 ace Oars in the friend captain, the reason it's much easier is because if you aren't running just those giant units, you're gonna have to deal with that blow away. In that case, those units that are in the middle left and bottom left slots, they're kind of pointless, right? You'd have to use their specials on stage 1 before they're blown away. So you could bring characters that give you massive amounts of turns of buffs. So you could actually use someone like Luffy's special on stage 1 instead. He has a 5-turn orb boost. You can carry that over into the final stage. That's definitely an option if you are considering solutions. But anyways, final boss, we have Sengoku giving Garp a 1.75x attack and orb boost on stage 2. Now Garp, he is a 1.4x booster. He's the PK unit that super evolved the last month, and these units always have 2.5x stats. They are always going to be your big DPS character, having massive boost. Even if you are someone who's not doing pulls, they have the same stats as the boosted units from the new Sugofest, right? So he's going to do a lot of damage on stage 2 for the strength portion of the enemy's HP. And then we have the color affinity from Shanks' special, which will only benefit our dex units. So there's a pretty good balance here. We have our Garp, who doesn't get the color affinity from Shanks, but he has that damage from the attack and orb boost of Sengoku, right? So you really don't need it on Sengoku, but you still have Luffy doing some good DPS for the strength half, right? But either way, this is the best damage variant in my opinion. This will last, I think, over 1000 nav levels, just based on our damage, because there's no such intimidation on the final stage that prevents us from having those damage boosting effects. Even though we're running double ace ores, as I said, it's very pointless. Both the superclass and the special provide basically no real usage in having two ace and ores. I'll discuss this in like my showcase video, right? But either way, it is a flaw of the character. I mean, if you're running double ace ores, you do actually get access to two extensions of your attack and damage reducing effects. My one critique with this treasure map, it really makes no sense how they designed it. Like intimidation on the final stage, it would have made so much more sense if it affected attack boosts and damage reduction effects, because the best way to get around intimidation is to just activate the effects in the previous stage, because then it will not be the intimidation will not affect the buffs, right? So it would have made way more sense if they actually showcased this character's captain ability by having the intimidation effect attack boost and damage reduction effects. But they went completely opposite, made the intimidation for all boost and color affinities for some reason. It makes zero sense. I understand the new rare recruits, they give 3-turn all boost and color affinity buffs, so it still is going to work, but it just is such a weird design philosophy. Either way, I am quite grateful that they made this treasure map much more difficult. It makes it much more fun to team build, and I will probably like stream this treasure map because I am going fairly hard compared to previous months. Not as hard as I would go back in like 2023, but I am going to be trying quite hard in this treasure map. And I also want to try the new JoJo's gacha game that's coming out tomorrow on stream for you guys, maybe as a break during treasure map grinding. So I might see you there on Twitch as well as YouTube, and then I'll leave a community post for you so you guys know when I'll stream, right? But that's a bit of a side note. So let's use Gob special. This gives enemy defense down. I was looking for some form of support ability to give a conditional boost here, but unfortunately the only conditional boost for defense down as a support would be on Luffy, but we need Usopp to give us these matching orbs from the empty slots, right? Attack boost and orb boost on Gob, color affinity on our Dex units, and Hyrule does not stand a chance, brother. He does not stand a chance. And remember, Ace Oars is not just boosting Dex, Fighter, and Striker, also boosting quick units as the captain. So even though Garp is not a striker unit, he still gets all those buffs. Same goes for Luffy is a striker, but you get my point, right? So super class of Ace Oars is actually quite useful here for the cooldowns. Then we can use Collun. Now, if you don't have Collun super evolved, his orb boost will be 1 turn, but as I said, there is no intimidation here, so there's no difference between his super evolved and his evolved form here. We also get a Dex territory from him, that's pretty nice. We can use the special of Ace Oars for despair reduction. Now, if you want to save time here, make sure you do activate Collun first and then Ace Oars. We don't need to waste our time activating Ace Oars for the second time. Collun already reduces 6 turns of despair, and then your first Ace Oars gets around the remaining turns. However, if you use Collun special, it gives the enemy damage reduction. You don't want that to happen. You don't want to deal with that because we don't have the ability to go through defensive effects. So first use your Collun, and then Ace and Oars will remove that damage reduction that Collun gives the enemy. If you first use Ace Oars then Collun, you'll have to use your second Ace Oars to remove the damage reduction Collun provides the enemy, and that just wastes your time, right? We also don't need to waste our time using the second super class. As I said, you get 0 benefit from doing this. So now we can just hit a good strike to start off the chain, get rid or get past the chain minimum attack down, and then we can use our Ace Oars, get through the quick part, and then Luffy for the strength part. There definitely are some supports that you could add for an attack boost and color affinity here. Easily for color affinity, I might struggle to look for an attack boosting support. I'll show you after the run, but there definitely is higher damage potential here. But for now, Ace Oars just gets through the strength off anyways. We don't have a color affinity. Remember, color affinities are double-edged sword. If you're hitting with type disadvantage, color affinity boosts actually reduce your damage. So luckily we don't have a color affinity there, so even our Ace Oars does a decent amount of damage to the strength off. But that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. Let me just quickly see if there's a good color affinity support for that final boss to boost our damage at least a bit. Oh, and look, I actually have my super bonus map, so that means I've done 20 runs. Remember, the first super bonus map appears in the first 20 clears, not 20 nav levels. Remember, since cards were introduced, nav levels and number of clears are two different metrics. So I've done 20 clears, and after that, the super bonus map will only appear every 25 rounds. Keep that in mind if you are a newer player. So for final boss, surely on Collun, man. Some form of color affinity support, man. We have Chopper. Ideally a striker based one, so that both our quick and our dex units gets access to it. No, it's powerhouse based. Come on, man. Ace, surely, man. Okay, it doesn't look like that's a possibility, but at least we can put a dex color affinity support on, and maybe an attack boosting just for like Collun is fine. We can use Buggy, right? So we have the Orb boost from our Collun, an attack boost from Buggy, and then color affinity from Raizo. Yeah, I mean, you can add that later on for more damage, but don't waste your time. You don't need that early on. But that is definitely a possibility if you don't have that. And when it comes to the ship, it doesn't matter which ship it is. We do not use the paralysis reduction from the whale sharks in either the final boss nor the intrusion, right? So I'll see you guys in the next one. Leave your comments down below. What do you want to see? I'm seeing people asking for only rare recruits. I will have to talk about that to you guys in theory on the treasure map planner website. I only have Ace and Oars, right? So I can't do the playthrough, but I can still do a walkthrough for you guys if you really want to see that. And also join the Discord. I'll have the link in the pinned comment. We like to discuss everything One Piece Treasure Cruise there. The conversations are always fun there with you guys, so join it and I'll see you there. Peace, and I'm out.